Sup everyone, it's that time again for Trev to ramble and do another update. It's, well, I'll let you see. It's on the ground. It's a car with wheels and tires and rubber and it rolls. Doesn't make any noise yet. It's too high still. And that, I guess, is probably the first problem I'll talk about. First, I guess, problem is the rear is maxed out on the adjusters. Has the BCs in it, and it's as low as it can go. It's pretty low, but it's not low enough. Like, I want it to be so impractical that people look at you in disgust when you're high-centered on a speed bump like an idiot. I'm told that's what the kids think is low enough. But look, what is that? Brother, like, these are the extreme lows, and that's as low as I can make them. Solution for that is there's the spring perches that the top of the spring sits on, and they come off the rear, I guess, unibody frame rail up there, and they sit quite high. So I think I might make some custom ones to get the spring to sit up higher, which will then bring everything down lower. I'm annoyed because I sourced brand new top spring perches. Anyone with Volvo 240s know they rust out. It's getting there. Second problem, the T5 is back in there. I got it all refreshed and rebuilt. It's got a short shift in there, just eBay one. But there's a problem with that too. This is using the D-Works adapter with the 960 bell housing, and then I'm using an 850 clutch and a Ford Mustang T5. All good parts. T5's questionable. It's new, it's been rebuilt, so it'll last at least a minute. I'll kind of show you my issue. So this is one of my spare T5s. This one's actually a 4-cylinder, which is kind of what started my problems. I knew the 4-cylinders had different gear ratios and a different diameter pilot input shaft. I goofed though, as that they actually have different input shaft lengths. The 4-cylinder one is shorter. I had this one mocked up. There was no issues. Everything was all fine and good. There was plenty of room. This kind of sat in the recess in the back of the crank of the engine. When I put my rebuilt V8 one in, it wouldn't go the last 1/4 inch. And then I figured out that this input shaft was too long. No big deal, cut it down. Well, I've cut the one in the car down so much that there's barely any of this kind of shoulder for the input shaft to ride on the pilot bearing left to engage. I'm still hitting the inside of the crank. Taking this all out to shorten it even more, like cut these splines back, is possible. I just got my T5 rebuilt. I don't really want to pull all this out. It's kind of tricky to pull this input shift out with all the parts falling out. Drilling out the back of the crank has its own issues. Drilling forged steel crank sounds fun to me. Getting a custom pilot bearing, I've already got like an 8mm thick one, so as thin as I can get it, but I still think it's going to ride in here. The other issue with that is that because the input shaft goes so far into the crank shaft flywheel assembly, the clutch disc gets pushed back, and I'm going to have to cut this throw-up bearing retainer sleeve down, which isn't that big of a deal, but I'm almost running to just measuring my stack height. The clutch disc is almost getting pushed off the end of the splines. These splines don't go all the way in. They stop about somewhere like here. The transmission needs to move farther away, which isn't really possible with the adapter setup that I have. Modifying this input shaft is kind of my best option, but it's not ideal. The whole thing could be avoided if the adapter plate, because there's an adapter plate that bolts to the face of the trans, locates this to keep it all centered, and then the 960 bell housing bolts to that. Making that adapter thicker would push the trans away, which would negate the need for shortening this shaft. And most people have logged out by now or found a different video to watch, but I feel like this is really important because everyone keeps asking me about what transmission I'm using with the 5-cylinder Volvo. I am not stoked on myself for going this route. I've invested so much, I have to keep going to get the eventual payout, otherwise all the money I've spent is a waste. I don't like it when I put it that way. It's really depressing. Yeah, I mean, everything has a solution. I don't know what that solution exactly is yet. It will probably slap me across the face when I'm at my peak angry rage moment, and then it will all make sense. Or I will just delete all this and go with a BMW ZF like I should have in the first place. Next thing is just look at it. I'm with that. I like that. That makes my brain make the happy chemicals. Hankooks on them. I think these are a 225 45 15. Ventures RS4. I probably absolutely butchered the way you pronounce that. A few of my Corolla buddies that run tiny tires put me onto these, so I'll go and give them a try. I'm under here, still an engine, still a 5-cylinder. I haven't changed my mind again on that. I am starting the wiring harness mock-up. That's all rope, like nylon rope, not wire. That's diet spaghetti. Everyone knows I'm not the hugest fan of carbs.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So that is the harness, the mock-up harness is almost all done. Out of the bulkhead there, splitting off, going around. I've got a bunch of sensors over here. The main kind of part of it comes over here, snakes around there. I've got injectors, I've got coils, more sensors, knock sensors, throttle body. That's my main power. All of the main power is actually done in like real wires. Fancy circuit breakers for everything. Big fan of circuit breakers. Like even the E-fan has a little auto reset one. These are manual reset. There's a main fuse there. Resettable breakers are nice because you can reset them. I know that sounds obvious, but like blowing fuses on the side of the road in the dark is not fun, especially when you have a limited amount of fuses or no fuses and then just a roll of aluminum foil, which has its own set of problems doing that. Not that I would ever do that. Circuit breakers, definitely the move. All the AC lines are done. I actually have it in pressure now. Not only do I want a cool car, I want a cool car. How many people have gutted AC in their project car and then instantly regretted it on the first hot day when you're sitting in traffic with a super sick car and a pants full of swamp ass? I'm done doing that. I want my creature comforts. Long story short, bunch of different parts to make AC work in with this swap. I also replumbed my, get out of here, harness strap. Replumbed my boost solenoid control strategy. So I have top and bottom port being controlled with a MAC valve. A bunch of turbo people that are smarter than me convinced me that that was a better way to do it, so it was worth redoing it. All stainless still, because you know, melty bad. It's coming together, guys. Like really, kind of clean everything up. E-fans are all wired. All the vacuum lines are done. The remote oil filter kind of adapter. I don't know if I talked about that in the last one. It's the harness, really. Like that's the big one. Pulling it out to do rods and probably drill out a crank. We talked about earlier with my stupid choices of transmission. It is there, like it is getting close. I still have to bolt my fancy Recaro seats in. They're chilling up there. There's no point to put them in now. They're just going to be in my way. When you do coilovers on these cars, if you get the BC ones, they give you these blocks. You can kind of see them there. Well, no, you can't actually because I suck at filming. You see those blocks? They're kind of shinier. The top part is the original strut knuckle that you weld the BCs to. The bottom, obviously, is the control arm and the ball joint. You can see the problem here. That control arm is almost flat, and your tie rod is pointed up. So that is going to have horrific bump steer. Like, I won't drive it like this. That's not safe. There is solutions for it, and it involves moving that outer tie rod down to make the steering link parallel with the arm. I really want the Capel Henke ones. They've been out of stock for a long time. I think he's got some supply or production issues. So I'm holding out trying to get some of those because I think they're probably the best ones available. I don't like the ones that just are a spacer that goes on their knuckle to space it down, because then you've just got a really long lever on a single shear point, which is also death. I mean, that's not safe. I'm not going to drive it like that. It will be terrible. But again, I'm a long way from driving it, but it's something that I'd like to address before I do. I have the triple gauge pod that goes up on the top there. I'm going to keep the ambient temperature one. I don't really need 2 oil pressure gauges because there's one in that, and I don't need 2 volt gauges because there's also one in that. So I'd like to find a factory turbo gauge, and then maybe stick a clock in it, although I have a clock there, but I could put the blank plate there, or maybe do something kind of cool and custom. I want to keep the dash looking original-ish, and then maybe have a tablet that I clip in if I want to read all the stuff. Maybe I'll have like the dashboard flip out and have like a tablet in there hidden. So keep it all kind of period correct in 80s. Right down to the tape deck. That's definitely staying. Those speakers are going to be bumping with static. Yeah guys, that's about where we are now. It's on the ground, it rolls. I've sat in it, made engine noises, all the things you do to make sure it's good. But like we're getting there. So I think, you know, give me a couple more months and we'll hit the key and see if it starts. Like I said, feeling pretty motivated and also feeling less overwhelmed with a massive list. It's getting smaller. I keep adding things to the list, which is super dumb, but I also know that once it is done, I'm not going to want to work on it. I'm just going to want to drive it because I've been working on it for so long. So hopefully everything is good and I just turn the key and it works perfectly and I never have another issue with it again. That's definitely not going to happen, but we can hope. So yeah, till the next time, have a good one and catch you on the next one.